So Apple has been in the news lately for their plans of developing their very own autonomous electric vehicle, and that's leading to speculation on how far they might actually take this and if one day they might even be able to challenge the almighty Tesla. Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about everything that we know so far, what I think this means for Apple as a company, where I think this is headed in the future, and if I think they have the necessary ingredients to compete with the likes of Tesla or anyone else in the electric vehicle market at a high level. And of course, this is a stock market related channel, so I'll even let you know what I think this means for the stock and if it makes it more attractive and if I'd even consider buying Apple stock myself after these new updates. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Should be an interesting one. We got a lot of fun things to cover, so let's jump straight into it. Okay, now it's no secret that Apple has been testing these waters here for quite some time. In fact, they started this project back in 2014 under the name Project Titan, and by 2018, Apple had already as many as 70 self-driving vehicles physically out on the road in California being tested with autonomous driving functionalities. Fast forward to today, and Apple seems to only be ramping things up. Last year, Apple more than doubled their autonomous driving tests, and around the start of this year, multiple reports started coming out that Apple was targeting 2024 for their car production with next level battery technology, which would use a monocell design to pack more material into the battery and thus increase the range, making their electric vehicle even more competitive. It's also expected to use a new type of chemistry called LFP that prevents overheating and makes the battery safer to use than other types of lithium batteries. Reuters even quoted someone from the project saying that it will be so uniquely new that it will be, quote, like the first time you saw the iPhone. As far as the autonomous driving system goes, there's not a lot known about that yet, but it's said to be LiDAR based as opposed to something like Tesla, which uses cameras, which does make sense considering that Apple already develops LiDAR systems for their newest iPhones. And according to noted Apple analyst Ming Kuo, the car will include an innovative user experience and be heavily integrated with Apple's already existing ecosystem of products and services, notably iOS, which also makes perfect sense. So many people are already heavily invested in Apple's ecosystem, so why not have a car that not only seamlessly connects to all of your devices and services, but also does a much better job of that than anything else on the market, since it's all owned and operated by the same company. Makes total sense. Now, as far as actually building the vehicle itself, it looks like Apple has been actively shopping for an automotive partner to manufacture the car. So much so that Hyundai and Kia's stock actually shot up because it looked like a deal was in the works for them to build it, but since then the stocks came tumbling back down after Kia announced that while they have been approached by several overseas companies to build autonomous EVs, nothing has been decided yet, and they are not currently in talks with Apple, meaning that Apple is still likely shopping around for a partner. As of right now, there's not really any concrete evidence on who Apple will partner with. It technically could still be one of those Korean companies or even someone else, but as of right now, it's all just kind of speculation on who that partner will be, and that's causing some volatility in the automaker stocks as investors are hoping to kind of get in early on some of those amazing gains that something like Tesla has been experiencing in recent years. In just the past 5 years, Tesla's stock has increased by over 2,700%, and most of that really happened in just the past year or so. And while Tesla is technically doing other things too, like solar energy generation and storage, for example, the main driving force behind the stock has definitely been its ambitious plans of dominating the electric and autonomous vehicle markets. As of last year, Tesla controlled over 80% of the US EV market, and that was even after they had already lost their subsidy tax credits. Globally, the market share does drop to just 18%, but that's still dramatically higher than, say, Volkswagen in second place, who only controls about 6% of the market. You guys might even recall NIO's gigantic rise in their stock price out of China, and they only control about 1% of the market. So just imagine what it could mean for Apple if they start to challenge this market in a meaningful way. Not to draw too many comparisons to NIO, but NIO is a startup company that actually loses hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and they don't even manufacture their own vehicles, which would likely be the same kind of scenario that Apple's car division would be in for at least a few years. And yet, just because NIO has so much potential, the stock has skyrocketed by over 1,000% in the past year alone. As a result, their market cap is quickly approaching $100 billion. That is an insane valuation. They were at less than $3 billion just a few few quarters ago. But this shows you just how much demand there is out there for viable competitors in the EV market. And while I don't think that Apple will ever dethrone Tesla just because Tesla's so committed and they're already so far ahead of anyone else, I don't necessarily think that Apple has to be on top. Everything I've shown you so far proves that you don't have to be number one to still be successful. Look at NIO, only 1%. They're all the way at the bottom. And look at the success that they've had. And I think there is plenty of room for competition in the entire market, considering that the EV market should be growing at well over 20% a year through the foreseeable future, according to Allied Market Research. So you just can't tell me that Apple isn't looking at all this with their mouth watering wide open. I believe they have all the necessary ingredients to be successful in the space as a viable competitor, and I'll prove it to you right now. While startups like NIO or even long-established automakers Ford and GM struggle to be profitable or grow their business, Apple has been a cash-generating machine for years with so many profits that they likely don't even know what to do with them, at least up until now. In just 2020 alone, Apple generated over $70 billion of free cash flow. That is so crazy. In just 1 year, Apple made enough money to basically get close to buying all of NIO. That's insane. But it's not just what Apple is generating, it's also what they already have, which is a monster balance sheet that they can tap into for the needed research and development funds. And that's a very costly barrier to entry for the EV market that not a lot of other companies can afford. But with over $90 billion in cash, over $140 billion in current assets, and over $320 billion in total assets, Apple is more than capable of just throwing unimaginable amounts of money at the problem until they basically buy their way into the market as a formidable competitor. And I'm not saying that Apple will be at the top or even top three, but when you look at the possibilities, I think they have a very real shot of competing here, especially thanks to all of the integrations they can do with iPhones and iOS that so many people already use and depend on. According to Statista, there are already over 100 million iPhone users just in the United States alone. Obviously, that doesn't mean much when an iPhone costs nowhere close to an electric vehicle, but even if just 1% of those iPhone users are diehard fans of Apple and they decide to splurge on a fancy new iCar, that would still be 1 million units for sales. That's more than double what Tesla sold in the entire world in all of last year. So at the end of the day, I just really think it's going to come down to how well Apple is able to execute. They definitely have the potential. You can't tell me that an iCar wouldn't be sick and have amazing integration with iOS and do a lot of cool things that would attract a lot of customers. And really, when you look at Apple as a company throughout their history, this is exactly what they do best. They enter a new market or develop a new product or service a little bit later than everyone else so that the technology is already there. And then they just throw a ton of money at the problem so that they can do it even better than the competition. And then they end up dominating the high-end kind of premium portion of that market. That's what they've always done. And that looks like it's exactly what they're trying to do here. So all that really remains is them executing. As long as they don't make too many dumb mistakes and they're willing to take some losses early on and throw a ton of money and resources at the project, then I do think that they can be very successful over the long term. But keyword though is long term, because I'm not very optimistic that they're going to meet any kind of 2024 deadlines. That seems way too soon to me. I think at least one, maybe a couple years after that. So based on that kind of future speculation and that future potential, does that make the stock more attractive? And is this a stock that I would be wanting to buy at these current levels? Well, after climbing by nearly 500% in the past 5 years, Apple's market cap has already surpassed a $2 trillion market cap. That's trillion with a T, making it the most valued company in the entire world. Now, their PE ratios are not too crazy. Both trailing and forward are in the 30s range with a PEG of 3, but that's still a more growth-oriented valuation for a company that is actually pretty cyclical. 2019 saw a revenue decline, while 2020 and 2022 are both expected to be growth years of just 5% or less, although 2021 is expected to be huge growth of 22%, but that's mostly due to the rise of 5G. But to be fair, I don't really think that that's the main reason why people are investing in this stock. It's not so much the growth as much as I think it is just the sheer kind of gigantic size of the company and the insane profitability and the kind of stability that comes along with that, meaning that they can get through any kind of stormy weather and they have the resources and the funds to venture out into other avenues. So this is a company that will likely always just kind of be around. It's probably a very good kind of stable core foundational stock that you could even build an entire portfolio around. Now, having said that, I just still think that the valuation is too rich for me for a company that just doesn't get me too excited, or at least not excited enough, because I do already have a couple of core foundational stocks in Microsoft and Amazon. And if I was wanting to pick up another one of those kind of companies, I would probably go for Google because they have a more exciting business, in my opinion. Or I would go with Facebook because they have the much better valuation. Don't get me wrong, I do still think that Apple is a good pick, even at these higher levels. If it's a stock that I already owned, I would definitely hold it long term and have it as a core foundational stock, because I do think that they can be successful in a lot of different areas, not just the autonomous EV market. But even there, I think they don't have to necessarily dethrone Tesla, but they could compete at a high level, especially at the high-end premium portion of that market. There's a lot of other markets that they could tap into also. But if it's a stock that I don't already own and I already have other core foundational stocks, do I really want to buy it at such a huge valuation? Basically the richest or the most expensive company in the world, based on market cap. Do I really want to buy it at record highs when it's not a company that I feel like I need to own at the moment? No, I'd rather wait and just kind of see. I have the luxury of waiting, basically, is what I'm saying, because it's not a stock that I need to have. I can just sit back and wait and see if the market has a pullback, maybe drags the stock down a bit, and then that stock becomes a lot more attractive, and then maybe I do buy it. But as of right now, based on the future, speculation and other stuff, I think, and the stock trading so high, I think I'd rather just kind of wait and see a little bit before I dip my toes into Apple. But that's just me. That's just my own scenario, my situation. Let me know what you guys think down below. Is this a stock that you already own? Is it one that you've been thinking about picking up as maybe a core foundational stock or anything else? I'd love to read your comments. I'll try to read and respond to as many as I can. Let me know what you think about all the stuff we covered in today's video. And thank you guys for watching. It really means a lot to me. I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.